Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling, shake it up Saturday. I know I have had an incredible day so far. If you caught my part one earlier on today, you would have seen me talk about the expo that we had today for the IGHR 2022 IGHR. It's their 60th year doing this. And my Alexa's about to go off, so we're just going to unplug Alexa for now so that she can't go off. I forgot about the other one, but that's okay. She's too far away, you can't hear her. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so that was we just did the trade expo today. It was brilliant. It was great. I learned a ton of stuff. My head is still spinning. It was so bad I had to go take a nap, and I didn't even put the timer on this time. And I woke up at 5 o'clock, and I thought, and looked around, and Zeffie was really funny when we first went and lay down. She comes and she snuggles up on her side of the thing, close to me, and there's a gap between my pillow and the end of the bed. So she puts her head in there. And so I'm just reaching over and scratching areas and all that. And she keeps going like this underneath the pillow. I'm like, what are you after? And what she was after was her blanket. There's a blanket that she has, which is a cooling blanket. And it's meant to help regulate the body temperature and stuff. And so I pulled it out and just threw it over her head. And she just immediately just went, boom. She just stopped, laid there. And she was out to it. And she just sort of like did her big, and she was gone. She was asleep. And so when I woke up at 5 o'clock, she wasn't around. And so I thought, oh, I'll get up. And then I must have drifted back off to sleep, because when I next looked at my phone, it was 6 o'clock. And I was like, oh, I must have fallen back asleep. And the RV wasn't, and I pulled the awning in before I went to bed, because it was starting to, the awning was starting to lift up with the wind. And I checked ahead. There was going to be some big wind and wind coming in and everything else. And so I was that my I got a cool picture to look at afterwards. I've got a client who sent me a picture of their dog. They needed my cell phone number to do so. But anyway, distraction today. Sorry, my brain is firing so badly right now. It is. So I pulled the awning in, and of course now I'm looking out there, and it's all nice and calm again. And I'm like, oh, I don't really want to. And then it's supposed to get heavy again. And we are under flood watches for the next Sunday morning through Monday evening. And looking ahead, there's meant to be a lot of rain coming in. So I'm sort of like, yay! It's supposedly monsoon season, and we've already had some rain, and I've still got that leak on my slide up here that I've got to try and figure out where it's coming from so I can get that fixed. So as long as the rain is not coming from the east, we should be okay. And it's not windy, so we can have the awning out to keep it dry. Because when we went out for our walk this morning, it had a jet, like it was spitting. The rain was just spitting. I could see the drops on the steps as we went out, because I hadn't put the awning out at that point. And Zeffie gets outside, and she's like, she's just doing like all this little shivery, shaky thing. And then she looks at me like, I want to go back inside. And I'm like, no, we're going for our walk. It's starting to rain. We'll make it a quick walk. And she gave me no resistance today when we went and we did our morning quick walk routine. She kind of had the lead on the leash for a little bit. And she was sort of like, yep, we're going this way, we're going that. And I said, come on, we're going to the trash can. She just starts heading off down one of the side streets. I mean, we're on the middle thing. And I said, okay, we've got to go to the trash can now. And normally she would go where we were, she would turn left and go down that street. Nope, she turns right and heads down to the one that's closest to us. And I'm like, oh, she really wants to. And so we got a little damp. We didn't get wet. We got a little damp. We came back in, and I'd have my sun hat on, my big round sun hat on. And so, it wasn't a big problem for me. And it's just, and I said to Zephyr, I said, sweetie girl, it's just water. And she's like, you should take a few steps, stop, shake it all off, and then you should take a few more steps and stop and shake it off. So that was our entire walk this morning. And I said, if you just keep moving, we can get back quicker. And I hadn't even put the towel out on the floor because I didn't realize it was raining. So I was like, damn it, I forgot to put the towel out, and I'm going to have to go in and grab it and dry her off and all that. But she gets up inside, and she immediately just gets down on the carpet and starts wiping her head from side to side on the carpet. She hates getting wet. She hates it. And then she like shakes it off, and then she starts running up and down the RV and doing her zoomies, and I guess that was her drying off. But we didn't get it didn't rain on us. It was just spitting and just starting. And then there was a light drizzle, and but yeah, she could feel it, and she was not a happy camper on that one. So she's not going to be happy over the next couple of days when we have rain coming in. And we are, last I checked, it was like 60% chance of rain where we are. I know down when we used to be in the southeast part of Phoenix, down there in Mesa, they're going to be getting hit a lot because that's where a lot of the flood watch is in places down in that area. Up here, not so much, but it's coming in the area, so it could hit this area. Who knows? As far as the flood watch goes, but we'll keep an eye on it and all of that sort of stuff. And we'll do grocery shopping first thing tomorrow morning. Get the list. I've got the list written out. I just haven't had a chance to put it into Instacart so I can get it delivered. And but it's really cool because my new eating plate has charcuterie boards in it, and smoothies, lots of stuff that doesn't require cooking. And trust me, I love to cook. I love to get in the kitchen and cook. But in this heat in the summer, when inside it's like 80 degrees and you want to put, I don't even know how to start my oven in here, but putting even like the air fryer on or something like that does produce some heat in the RV, and it's just sort of like, yeah, and there's no way in heck I'm using gas. My gas, right? I think my gas is sitting just above a quarter tank, and I'm not even going to use it for cooking or anything like that. It's there in case the power goes out, because then it powers the refrigerator will switch from power to gas. It's got an automatic switch on it, so it will do that if the power goes out. So I need to save that for as much as I can. But I can always get the guys to come in and fill up the tank. It's not an issue. But today has been awesome. Last night we got to watch, as my reward for getting my desk cleared and my to-do list done. Like, I had everything done. All work was complete. There was nothing outstanding on my desk to do. And so as my reward, I got to watch The Grey Man, which was released on Netflix yesterday. I have to say it was better than I expected it to be. Did they alter it from the book? Absolutely. Don't they always? Like, one of the characters in there in the book is British, and he's actually around for several books. When he calls him, it's always some reason that he has to be involved from the English perspective. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do further movies and if they involve him and that sort of stuff. Ryan Gosling was awesome as Cortland Gentry, and Chris Evans. Oh my gosh, I've really only ever seen him as Captain America. He was the complete opposite. He was nuts. The character he played and the way he portrayed it, it was really hard to say, oh my gosh, this is Captain America on screen here, and he's playing the complete opposite character of a Captain America thing. But he was brilliant. He was brilliant as this nuts guy. I mean, he was nuttier than a fruitcake. Crazy character, and he played it very, very well. And at times there's times you'd see like a little flash of the Captain America, like an expression or something come through, and you think, yeah, that's a Captain America. But then he would go completely back, and then it would go completely back to this nutty character, and he was awesome. Because you come to know him as Captain America, and that's basically the only movies I have ever seen him in. But he was awesome as a completely different character. This he was, all I can say is he was the both of them, Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, were really good in the characters that they portrayed. It was actually a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I'd love to go back and watch it again. I probably will at some point. Not right now because it's too close to what I had seen yesterday. But I have to say that I had to give kudos to the two actors in the two roles, because they were brilliant in their roles. There was a couple of times during the fight during the fight scenes, it just seemed very different from a lot of other fight scenes that you see in action movies. And there was one there at the beginning where I thought this kind of feels that there's just something, there was just, it just had a fake feel about it. But as the movie progressed, it got a lot better. But there was just an initial fight scene that I thought, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't believable as a fight scene. Other people may have a different opinion, but that was the only sort of like bad point of the whole thing. Everything else was, they did a really good job on that. So it was kind of cool. And it makes me want to go back and read the first book again, which is what happened with Reacher when I watched the Reacher series on Amazon, when they did that season 1 and they did it on the first book. I was sort of like, oh, I was inspired to go back and listen to the Reacher series, and I'm up to book 11 or 12. I can't remember which book I'm up to, but I've also I listen to them as audios, and I've also re-listened to the one that they're using for season 2, which is going to be awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what they do with as I was listening to the book that they're going to be using for season 2, when we were out walking with Zephyr, I'm sort of like, oh, I can't wait to see how they put this on the screen in the 6 episodes. But for the 2 hours or whatever it was with the Grey Man, I was like, I want to go back and listen to the first book again of the Grey Man series. And I still have book 11 to listen to, which was the last one that was released a few months ago. I haven't had a chance to listen to that yet. But yeah, so good. In my opinion, it was a good movie. It was there were some segues from the book, which is going to happen in movies, and I totally get that. There's a couple of things I'm like, well, hang on, but if they do that, how are they going to do? And there was a couple of times where I was questioning some of their decisions, especially knowing what happens in future books. So it'll be interesting to see if they go on and do any more books from the Grey Man series. But good thumbs up for yesterday for watching the Grey Man. It was awesome. I enjoyed it, and watched I haven't watched an action movie for a while. When was the last time I watched an action movie? Well, Reacher doesn't really count because that's a series. But yeah, apart from that first fight scene where they're doing the fisty with the fighting, and that it seems staged. It didn't feel like a natural flow. But the fight scenes after that were all really good, and it was interesting technology that they were using at the beginning as well. Yeah, it was. I can't say that without giving it away, but it was really good. I enjoyed it. So yeah. What are we going to watch tonight? Who knows? I don't know. I'm actually in the mood for I may watch some videos, some training videos on other stuff, because I'm kind of in that mood where I don't want to watch any movies, musicals, or anything. I want to learn. And even I know that sounds crazy after my mind-blowing day today already, and the brain is sort of like, wow, this is awesome. And I've actually been using one of the app, and after I got off my ass, before I went and had a nap, after I got off the live earlier, I went and pulled up the app that works alongside your family search when you're doing the family search, or an ancestry, and I actually had two tabs open. One was a family search and one was an ancestry for the same person. And on the little app on the side there, it had both of their timelines overlapping on the thing. And I'm like, and there were some areas where it was different. I'm going, why are these areas different? And it's because one profile had a lot more information than the other profile had. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And like I've got, and that was for my third great grandfather that was my paternal side of the family. It was my third great grandfather, which took us a while to find his. And on Ancestry, I can find his baptismal record from when he was 5 years old, which led me to figure out that something had happened to my fourth great grandfather, because it has the mother listed at one address and the father listed at another address, and then directly below my third great grandfather's baptismal record was his half brother. And I'm like, where did this guy come? And it had the father's name. And I'm like, well, where did he come from? So I went back to and it was in 1855. So I went back to the 1851 census, and my fourth great grandmother was listed on the census along with my third great grandfather. but they were in a house by themselves. She was not widowed at the time. It said married. And was that one either had the foreign agent on it or wife of a jeweler. I can't remember which. I think that one might have been the wife of the jeweler. And so I do what we normally do. You always look, who are your neighbors? And there was this guy that she ended up married to and having this other child with. And he was a bookbinder. And because we could never figure out, because usually you would follow your father's trade back in those days. You would go into the same trade as your father. And I couldn't figure out why my third great-grandfather ended up being a bookbinder. Could not figure that out. And it turned out his stepdad was a bookbinder. And he happened to be the next door neighbor on the 1851 census. So I'm not sure what happened. So now we've got to figure out what happened to my fourth great-grandfather. And this new tool is going to assist in some way when we're looking at different records and help overlap with the time and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how this tool plays a part in trying to find out what happened with my fourth great-grandfather and seeing if I can locate him. We have a feeling that he was missing off different census records because he may have been traveling overseas on one area he's listed as a foreign agent and somewhere else he's listed as a jeweler. So we figured he may have been like on the boats going to the east, from England going to the east and coming back with the precious stones and metals and all of that sort of stuff as an importer or whatever, or as a purchaser and bringing it back. So yeah, I think I'm trying to remember. It was wife of a jeweler was written on the 1851 census, and I think it might have been my third great-grandfather's marriage certificate that had printed that he was a foreign agent. And of course, that was the first one I saw before I saw the jeweler thing. I thought, a foreign agent? My fourth great-grandfather was a spy? That's immediately where I went to when I first saw that. So I've always had this great thing that my fourth great-grandfather was a spy, but now then you combine that with the 1851 census and he was a jeweler, and I'm like, oh, that sort of foreign agent. He was the one that would go traveling, buy the gems and stuff and bring them back and make up. And I don't know if he was a jewelry maker or maybe he could have been just a purchaser, but then it started making sense. The foreign agent thing was that he would go and purchase stuff, bring it back. And I thought, there went my thought of being a spy, but I can still pretend he was a spy. So, there's all sorts of fun family stories that'll come out. I mean, when you look at your history, it's you've got all sorts of characters. Your life history, going back beyond you now, can bring up some interesting stories. And that's what our question of the month is for July. Are there any stories of famous or infamous relatives in your tree? And when you go back and you dig, I've got this fourth great-grandfather on one thing. It says he's a foreign agent. Somewhere else it says he was a jeweler. And so now you've got to put the two together. Oh, he was one of those traveling guys that would go on the sailing ships for months on end, buy the jewelry and bring it back. So we don't even have a death date for him or anything like that. So, and because his name is almost as bad as John Smith, it makes it a little harder to trace and try and figure out. But with this new tool that I got introduced to today, I'm looking forward to seeing what we can find using that tool to see if we can actually locate records for my fourth great-grandfather and figure out who he was, where he was born, and what it actually was that he did. And so we know why he wasn't on the 1851 census. It could have been that he was overseas traveling. And by 1855, he was no longer in the picture. But it did have another address for him on the baptismal record of 1855. But it can't remember if it said he was deceased or not. So I'm not sure if the wife got divorced and then she married the neighbor, or if something had happened and that was a slut, or if the address they gave for the father on the baptismal record was his last known address, even though he was deceased. So I'm going to go back and take more look at that. But the cool part is I've got other technology where I can download an image and clean it up so it becomes clearer and crisper and cleaner and makes it easier to read. So, lots of cool stuff learned today. And I'm just in a mood for learning. So I'm trying to figure out what to go and watch this evening, or I may even sit and read. Although reading doesn't appeal to me so much right now, but watching does. So who knows? We'll have to go see. But anyway, I'm out of here. I've got a DOG that would love to go for a WILK. And if we can get in early, then yeah. What's it like outside, Zeffy? Is it good? You ready for your walk? frequency has moved. You want to go for a walk? We're ready? You going to bring me my shoes? You going to bring Mummy her shoes, please? She's looking at me like, you got to be kidding, right? Tell you, almost 3 years I've been asking every day that question to her, minimum twice a day. Morning and night she gets asked that question. She gives me the same look. Like, no. Anyway, go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening. What did you do today that shook up your day? Take note of it, enjoy it. Was it a good shake up? It was almost like an earthquake came through my brain this afternoon. So it's shaken loose. It's ready to learn more. I'm kind of wanting to rest it a little bit because I know there's going to be a lot of information coming into it Monday through Friday this coming week. Because I'm in class sessions all day. We've got different topics. I've already got the schedule out. I've already got the schedule for the week as to what topics we're going to be talking about when. So it's going to be an info-packed week. And this is the class I'm doing this year is the next level up from the one I did last year. So lots of new information to come in. Super excited to be doing this coming week. And I'm just ready. I am so ready to get into this and get moving. But right now, I got a dog to go walk. So I'm going to go take Zeffie for her evening stroll. We haven't been listening to audiobooks the last few times. It's been kind of nice. Just walking and being present with her and her walk. And she's been walking a bit different since I've turned the audio off and not put the headphones on. She seems to walk a little different. I've noticed that. If I've got the headphones on, she's sort of like, this is where we're going to go. And she just like gets there and she just goes. Whereas now with the headphones off and not listening to anything when we're walking, it's just her and I, she's paying attention more to me. Like she stops and she checks on me. Where are you? What are you doing? Are you still coming? So she's more engaged with me in that regard. And so I'm like, isn't that interesting? Well, this time we usually go for a walk and I usually have an audiobook playing. And then for some reason I stopped listening to I just didn't feel like listening to audiobooks one day and just started walking. And as we're walking, she'll stop and turn and look at me and then carry on walking. Are we going in the right direction, Ma? You okay back there? And but she seems to be more engaged with me when we're out walking than when I have the headphones on. So I thought that was rather interesting. So I'm kind of enjoying the walk and being more involved with her on that regard. Just being in the moment with her and being present with her. And it's bringing out some interesting characteristics with her. She's more attentive. And even when we're in the RV and I'm sitting and working, if she's coming from the bedroom, she diverts over here and stops to get some loving, get some scratches and say hi, and then she'll go up onto the dash to look out the window. Or if she's going back to the bedroom, she'll stop, get some scratches and some loving, and then go back, where she wasn't doing that before. But since I stopped listening to stuff when we're out walking, she's paying more attention. So it's kind of interesting to watch her evolve, or watch our relationship evolve when we're not so tied up on things. And I'm more willing to put down, like if she comes and sits next to my chair in the evening, I'm willing to put down what it is I'm doing and pay attention to her. And she really likes it when I sit forward in the recliner, and she can come and sit between my legs, and then she just sort of like leans back against the chair and puts her head up so it comes up underneath my chin here. And she's happy to stay there while I just scratch underneath her chin. So it's been interesting how much more involved we're getting when I'm not listening to audiobooks, so when I'm out walking. But anyway, I'm out of here. Go have a super fantastic sparkling evening. I'm off to take my pup for a walk. Here she comes. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow. It's Serenity Sunday tomorrow. It is a day of rest and relaxation. So go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for Serenity Sunday. Hey, korera.